The government knows everything about us. About you, about your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, everyone. In the US, post 9/11, the government has kept a close watch on everyone because they suspect that anybody could be a terrorist. After the attack, the president at the time, George W. Bush, created the Department of Homeland Security, a department in which the federal government can keep a close watch on the public. One major issue today is that almost every single person in this world has some kind of social networking account. It could be Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Snapchat, Instagram, anything. Anything that gives away some kind of information. People say that whatever goes on the internet stays on the internet, and to not put up personal information or something that you wouldn't want someone else to see, because even if you think you deleted it, trust me, it's not going to be deleted. The government is able to track every site you visit, what time you were on it, what you're interested in. It could be at times like when the police need to know things about you, they can get to the information in a blink of an eye. What else could they find out about someone? With just one click, they can figure out who your friends are, who you're related to, what school you go to, where you work, all the way up to your exact address. And with the help of the GPS implanted into everyone's phones, they are also able to know where you are. Speaking of phones, the issue of the government and the NSA listening in onto people's phone calls was a very big issue, especially in the year of 2013. President Obama spoke up to the issue to reassure people that they were not listening in.
When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls. That's not what this program's about. As was indicated, what the intelligence community is doing is looking at phone numbers and durations of calls. They are not looking at people's names, and they're not looking at content. How are we striking this balance between the need to keep the American people safe and our concerns about privacy? But by sifting through this so-called metadata, they may identify potential leads with respect to folks who might engage in terrorism.
So in the video clip, President Obama claims that the government only focuses on duration and phone numbers, but does this make you feel any safer? Though most of the feedback is negative, people always manage to find a positive side to everything. Even this. Government surveillance isn't only used for tracking down people, but it is used as a safety device. With the cameras planted on every street, police are able to look at footage and get a closer look on an unsolved murder case or a robbery. Or how about the fact that the government is also able to track emails or texts going back and forth between a customer and a drug dealer, or a cyberbullying going on between two kids? But what about the rest of the world? The people who live normal lives? The people who want to be able to go somewhere with their friends without knowing that there's a high chance that they aren't going unwatched? Freedom is an issue for everyone around the world. Just because the US relies heavily on the NSA and government surveillance doesn't mean it doesn't happen anywhere else. In fact, it practically happens everywhere else. Terrorism is blowing up on the news currently. In France, the US, Afghanistan, Iraq, India, and many other places. All these countries are increasing their surveillance on the street and online to prevent as many cases as possible. North Korea is possibly the most heavily surveillanced country in the world. They went past tracking cell phones and surveillance cameras, and they even put microphones outside to pick up conversations between innocent citizens. There are three major surveillance organizations in North Korea. There's the State Security Department, the Ministry of Public Security, and the Military Security Command. The State Security Department controls at least 50,000 personnel, and the State Security Department maintains a network of prisons for individuals suspected of holding unacceptable views. The Ministry of Public Security monitors correspondence and telephone conversations. The WPK Organization and Guidance Department is responsible for investigating and spying on senior officials. China is rated the 8th most censored country in the world. Starting back in 2011, Chinese officials organized the nation's geography into administrative blocks. Each block was assigned a 14-digit code and entered into a database. The subsequent data entry then included every bit of fixed infrastructure, everything from a skyscraper to a park bench. Because there was so much data and information flooding in, China's government then hired thousands of low-level government employees. In one area alone, roughly 12,000 employees were employed to monitor 200 households each. All of this data is then added into one central database where it is combined with data collected from video cameras and website censoring. Some say that government surveillance around the world has gone too far. Kerry, the U.S. Secretary of State, stated that after the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. and others, I emphasize to you, the others, realized that we are dealing with a new world where people are willing to blow themselves up. There are countless examples. Look at Nairobi. What if you were able to intercept that? We have prevented airplanes from going down and buildings from being blown up because we have learned ahead of time of such plans. Agreeing with the statement, Dianne Feinstein, a California Democrat, said, I think there's a huge misunderstanding about the NSA database program and how vital I think it is to protect this country. So, to answer the question, to what extent are we private? We aren't. Everything about everybody is available to the government, from cradle to grave. Whether you like it or not, the government will always know everything about you. But the government won't need to use your information unless it is truly necessary. The government isn't just going to choose you out of 7 billion people to stalk because they felt like getting to know you, but they can gather all the information they have about you when the information is necessary. So always act as if you are being watched.